Welcome to Social Work 8075, Theories and Practice of Community Building and Development. This will be a brief overview of the first week content. Mostly this will be the course concepts, overview of the course. I'm going to skip the quiz and the competencies. The main theme of the competencies is that this class focuses on communities. So the first couple weeks of the course will be about what community practice is and how it's researched, how communities are researched, and how we integrate research in our practice. The next 3 weeks of class will be focused on assets and debates about what kinds of assets matter and at what scale we have to build assets. So this is the development part of community development. The next couple weeks of class focuses on place, what we mean by place-based initiatives, and what are some of the tools and techniques to build community in places. So that also involves leveraging organizations, planning in organizations, and engaging institutions, using social action to change institutions. And then the last part of class will be involved with building community and development across different kinds of borders, both borders of identities and international borders. These are some of the themes of the handbook textbook. That is a recommended but not required textbook. Some of the chapters are available through the library. For the assignments, those are all posted in Canvas, and I'll go over those separately. The social problems that community building and development address are changes in the economy, changes in the natural environment, and changes in social and political environments. The four main techniques of community building development as social work conceptualizes it. One is this whole sense of creating a sense of place. Social workers originally called that locality development. Internationally, that's called social development. We call it community development typically. Community organizing, on the other hand, often focuses on self-interest, building relationships of self-interest to make change in communities. And this can involve conflict or consensus. Social workers also engage in social planning by writing very rational plans and proposals in partnership with different organizations, coalitions, residents. And then each of these combine towards a progressive vision of society for broader social change. The theories that are drawn on, some of them are more economic, and these involve some of the assets. They can be educational assets. Educational assets are called human capital. Which is to say people who are educated have human capital. And some believe, or maybe used to believe, that some kinds of education are more valuable for economic development, specifically the creative capital. Social workers believe that institutions can shape assets, in particular savings at the household level. And then community development is also informed by sociology. That could be a the body of theory inspired by Karl Marx about conflict between classes, conflict among nations that have more or less wealth. Also, the sociology of communities, the idea that there are formal relationships shaped by society, but then there are also informal relationships faced by repeated social interactions in a place. And it's these interactions, the Gemnin shaft, that form social capital and social networks. But of course, social networks are also influenced by formal relationships with institutions such as marriage, faith institutions, civic institutions. Community building and development is informed by theories of justice, whether justice should be a function of society or a function of community. The three kinds of social capital is the most important theory for this class, and the three social capital comes in three types, and it has three different functions. So bonding social capital is the feelings of trust with people like you in your in-group. That in-group could be a neighborhood, it could be an organization, could be an identity, but these are all in-groups that you interact with, not in-groups that you imagine yourself to be part of. The second type of social capital is the bridging social capital. That's the trust you have with relationships with people from other organizations, other neighborhoods, other cultural and identity groups. For example, if you live in the Cass Corridor, but you have a close friend in Grosse Pointe, you have bridging social capital. Linking social capital is the trusted relationship with someone in an institution. That could be your city council member, it could be a school board representative, it could be a staff person at a local bureaucracy, it could be the mayor. And so all of these have different roles and functions. The instrumental meaning, the ability to get your needs met. The effective, that would have to do with the feelings you have about your community. And then the normative, the way that community creates mechanisms of social norms and social control. Detroit is a model of community building and development. I think it would be boasting to say that we're the model, but we are a model, and we are assigning a book that shows how the community came together in 6 neighborhoods around a particular theory of change on how to improve those neighborhoods. This program is called the Good Neighborhoods Program, and it had these goals that were developed by the foundation, by the academic partners, of which Wayne State was a partner for a year or two. And these goals were generated by the community, and then they worked on them for 10 years, which I got to witness the later part for change. So this involved philanthropy. It also involved an attention to place. There was a lot of planning ahead of time. These are the logic models that were created in the planning process. there was the academic partners had an assistance center on Woodward to make sure that providers were able to do what they needed to do. And it had 3 phases: the planning phase, the readiness phase, and then the transformation or doing phase. You can look these logic models over. One of the things in class we'll learn is how to make logic models, and you should have been exposed to this in your BSW program and foundation year. These are things to think about on your own. Just for fun, many students want to know the kinds of jobs or kinds of places they'll work. This was one study of where macro-social workers end up. And you see that the majority end up in a nonprofit organization, but still about a third in a public institution, and then some in a private for-profit. One thing to keep out, we're not competing so much with other social workers as with other professions: business, health, public administration, public policy, law, and other graduate professionals. Most of the positions we go after in this study don't require a social work license, but some do, about a third. All right, and then what are the actual things macro social workers do on the job? Here they are. The most frequent is administering programs, then program planning and development, project management, then advocacy, program evaluation. Community development still fairly frequent. Also coalition building, and then policy work. The best case studies to go over to get a sense of where the class is going are in Chapter 1 of the DeMassey-Omer book, and those case studies can be downloaded online. So the main points from week 1 is that this course emphasizes engagement, assessment, intervention, and evaluation at the community level, that the actual practice activities can be divided into 4 buckets: community development, community organizing, social planning, and progressive change, otherwise known as social action, and that social capital has 3 types. They're different, and you need to understand the difference and how the work you do builds each of these. That's bonding, trust within the same group, bridging trust between groups, and linking trust between individuals, communities, and institutions.